I'm on the podium, I like to move around. I have 5 little kids at home and I drink a lot of coffee, so bear with me. Here we go. It's a pleasure to be here, and I was just thinking about how this all came to be. Colette and I were riding down to Fort Collins, Colorado about 5 years ago. And we attended the Fort Collins Grassland Roadmap meeting. And it was really something, and I thought to myself, we need to do this in South Dakota. And look at this. This is incredible. This is so incredible. We have now put grasslands on the map, and it's because of all of you in this room. So that's really something to be proud of. Really something to be proud of. Thank you, Laura, for leading this effort. Well, today I'm here to talk about funding the foundation of wildlife management. You know, and why is a game fish and parks guy up here talking about grasslands? Well, obviously it's because grasslands habitat is the foundation of wildlife management. It's as simple as that. Without the habitat, we have nothing. We have nothing as far as the outdoor recreational opportunities we have in this great state. So a little bit about who we are. Our mission is to serve and connect people and families to the outdoors. That's a pretty awesome mission when you're talking about a state government employee. You can serve and connect people and families to the outdoors. I love my job because of that mission. And our vision is why we're all here. We do this to essentially conserve our state's outdoor heritage to enhance the quality of life for current and future generations. Without the grasslands, this doesn't happen. Without the habitat, this doesn't happen. Outdoor memories are created because of all the things we're here for today, and that's going to be that habitat component, that mural there. Those are the things that really keep me energized and excited. Serve, connect, manage is the 3 words I use all the time, and a lot of my staff in this room have heard me say that probably thousands of times. So 4 priorities in our strategic plan. The first one, recreational opportunities, is unbelievable. I mean, in a diversified crowd, really. We have farmers and ranchers, we have biologists, we have just a plethora of different folks, but this is some simple biology 101. Habitat is the foundational cornerstone to managing wildlife populations. Grasslands are a big component of that definition. As habitat acres grow, wildlife populations are given the opportunity to grow as well. And that's why this is such a critical, I would say, subject to continue talking about. How do we keep grass green side up? How do we keep the habitat on the landscape? As habitat acres decrease, hunting and fishing opportunities also decrease. And this is where the user pay public benefit system comes into play. We are essentially 100% funded by hunters, anglers, trappers, campers in South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. We take in zero tax dollars to operate South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. So we are a user pay public benefit system on the wildlife division in particular. Habitat, what does that mean? It's simple. Grasslands, trees, landscape. What is another very important component? Well, it's having access to that habitat, having access to the recreational opportunities we have in this great state, and that is very limited. Access is a barrier to participation. So we can have all the habitat in the world, but we need to have access to that habitat. We need to have public access in a lot of ways, and we do. We don't have enough. 5.52 million acres of land is currently open. If you look at 49.3 million acres that are essentially private or tribal, that includes the entire South Dakota. So our estimates from a lot of surveys that we do, 40 to 60% of hunters hunt in South Dakota, hunt on publicly accessible land. How many hunters are in the room today? Raise your hand if you're a hunter. Awesome, look at that. Wow, that's so awesome. How many hunters in this room hunt on public land? Raise your hand. Look at that. That is incredible. 46%. That's about what I just think. I didn't do the math that quickly, but no, that's pretty cool. Some user groups, antelope hunters in particular, walked for a couple miles and never seen or shot a pheasant. We all sat in a tree stand and never seen a deer. You know, we all have thrown a line in the water and never caught a fish. These types of experiences can only happen 1 or 2 times for new users. Provide that quality experience, we lose them. We get one shot at getting them into hunting, fishing, camping, and trapping. So that is very, very important. The experience is super important, and we need to have sure that experience is a memorable one, and they have success in that outdoor endeavor. How do we increase abundance? Because abundance is a key to that experience. We increase quality habitat. I sound like a broken record because I am. And that's what we've been doing in Game Fish and Parks, and with many partners in this room. All of our partners are here. It's such a great collaborative effort in conservation. Can't do this alone. There's no way. It's a collaborative effort indeed. So I put this little diagram together. My staff in this room have seen this. But we start with dirt and water, right? Start with dirt and water, we start stacking on the blocks of what creates this opportunity, what creates the pheasant capital of the world that we live in South Dakota. Dirt and water, we stick habitat on top of that, right? Grass, wetlands, trees, obviously food. There's a lot of food in South Dakota. We have a lot of row crop. Then we've got to manage that habitat. That's part of that. That's part of that block. That's prescribed fire, rotational grazing, deferred grazing. Then we get on top of that and we see that wildlife and fish are utilizing that managed habitat. Okay? We get access to that the access to hunt and fish on that land, to recreate and utilize that wildlife. And then we see the hunters and anglers come. After that, then, we have our law enforcement section. It helps us keep people honest. Yeah. And on top of that, then, we have our R3, our recruitment, reactivation, and retention department, and our communication staff that bring in more people to enjoy the great outdoors. So what increases that opportunity, or what increases, I would say, the hunters and anglers? Well, more licensed buyers do, because that means we can put more habitat in the landscape. What else does? The increase of social tolerance, the increase of abundance in our wildlife and game populations. And then we just got to increase opportunity through pretty much all of these blocks, but access is key to that. Pretty simple diagram, but in my mind, it all starts dirt and water, putting the habitat on there. And that's what we're obviously all here to talk about, the grassland habitat biome. Let's see. So, funding the foundation, and I'm going to give you some numbers here in regards to, this is our entire game and fish budget. This looks at the Parks Division as well. Parks Division does get $6.2 million of general funds, but a lot of it's in the form of bonding. So that is nothing that the Wildlife Division gets. Federal funds, anybody in this room heard of Pittman Robertson excise tax? I'm sure many of you have. So every time you buy a gun or a box of shells, you're paying 11% excise tax. The manufacturer is. That money then goes into a big pot, and then we pull money from that big pot, and that comes in the form of federal funds to help us manage wildlife. We use most of that money for habitat management. That other funds bucket over there is your licensed dollars. And I'm going to talk about those licensed dollars right now. We talk about federal aid, that's going to be the excise tax on guns and ammunition. We talk about non-resident licenses, obviously the most residents that per capita hunt in South Dakota. We do take in some donations. The habitat stamp fee, Senator B.J. Smith is going to be here, I believe, tomorrow. Is he coming tomorrow, Laura? B.J.?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, and he was the founder of this. He was the senator that championed that. That's been a huge, huge revenue source and other things there. That's how the revenue comes in, and how do we spend it? Here's how we spend it. Habitat and access, you can see about $23 million a year is what we spend on habitat and access. Why? Because it generates, again, a quality experience, makes sure people have a place to hunt, puts more game on the landscape, increases abundance, all of those things we already talked about. Law enforcement, wildlife management, capital development is like management, licensing and admin, and then support services. But again, that habitat and access bucket is going to be the leading, I would say, expense within the agency. So Dingle Johnson, this is a slide just on some excise tax for fishing poles, fishing tackling equipment. You can see here, we're bringing about, just over $4.5 million for that. So there's a lot of fish that we stock back into the lakes throughout South Dakota using these DJ funds. PR, I put this in here obviously because we use the vast majority of your excise tax on guns and ammunition to manage habitat. We have a whole bunch of game production areas to essentially manage those acres. Public access, wildlife surveys, hunter education, another form of what we use those PR funding dollars with. So all of this then, what are the results of this? What are we getting results for our investment, for your investment, for your license dollars? See here what we have done on those properties. A little fun fact, we do pay property taxes on this land, $1.62 million property taxes. But again, 287,000 acres of land that we are actively managing, utilizing those license dollars, actively managing the grass, the noxious weed control, all of those things that goes into land management. So we looked then at our public access acres and the investment we've made in public access. And right now, we have enrolled 1.67 million acres of private land into public access. Why is that significant? Well, again, because many of you that raised your hand come from public land, and use exceeds availability. And we need to find more of those places with quality habitat. Once again, that is the key. Quality habitat is the key, because it's going to drive abundance of those game populations. But we're really proud of this, so we're going to keep this number growing, hopefully in the next couple of years. Mark Norton's in the room. I've seen him. Where are you at, Mark? He's right there. Mark Norton's our farm bill biologist. He looks at this graph or these contracts probably every day, and I appreciate all of his efforts. So a lot of staff are a part of this. There's a lot of you in this room. Thank you for your efforts in ensuring we continue increasing public access on private land.